All right. Well, we're going to try our second attempt here at a small podcast that we've been trying to kick off. We're partnering up with Catchmark Sports, and they're giving us an opportunity to get outdoors and kind of share some of our content. Snake and I are writing some articles for them as well, small as we get into the spring and throughout the summer. And so here we are. We're Sunday morning again. We're a little we about a month away from when we went down to Missouri and did some shed hunting.
Yeah, I think before we start, you want to maybe give a little bit of background on Catchmark. I mean, a lot of people probably don't know who they are, but it's a
Yeah,
pretty,
we'll put
pretty cool platform.
put a link in our bio here underneath this. And so they're a local organization. It's a family run business, and they're located here in the White Lake area. And they cover a variety of things. They're basically like they started out covering high school sports, and they're almost like you've got ZZM Friday on your sidelines or Friday Night Lights or whatever it is. They're very rival to that, and it's just covering all of our conference sports. And then they start expanding, and they've got a nice little website. They cover the things that are going on in our community here and just in the West Michigan area. So they've got a nice little shop there. They've offered up their facility if we ever need it to do these podcasts, if these which we've had some technical difficulties this morning, but yeah. So they asked us. They've got an interest in the outdoors. They caught our channel, saw some of the things that we were doing, and they wanted to partner up with us. And so here we are. We're kicking off a second podcast. And I know that we've done a couple different. We got another article coming out around surrounding turkey hunting, and I know you talked about doing some different articles as well for them. So hopefully this is a good partnership. We'll see how it goes. You never know. It could be
Yeah,
just
I
a
think
flash in the pan.
we're gonna try to do something once a month to start. We'll do some sort of a video podcast format and try to keep it relevant to the time of the year
Yep.
that we're doing. And it's not going to be super long podcast, maybe 30, 40 minutes. Uh, just whatever we feel like talking about is what we're going to do. And then I would assume maybe at some time in the future we'll bring some guests on, just family and friends and
Yep.
stuff like that. People that like to hunt and fish like we do. So it's gonna be interesting. Who knows? It may we may not do a good job at this, and they may give us the boot, but we
Give you a little hook.
we at least committed to giving it a try for them. They're I guess they're family friends of yours who run
Yeah.
it, so it's uh it's gonna be fun. We'll give it a try, and I think this week we're gonna start with shed hunting, as it's the shed season's kind of wrapping up here as we're in the middle of April now. But shed hunting's something fun that we do every year, and it's a good reason to get outside when the weather kind of sucks and you feel like you're cooped up in the house. And uh, something definitely fun that we think really everyone should do. Even honestly, even if you're not a hunter, if you just want to get outside, just go beat the boots to the dirt out on public ground and try to find some sheds. It's a good fun way to get some exercise during the late winter months.
Yeah, and it gives you, like, for me, you always need some sort of motivation, right? Like, I'm not a big runner. I don't like to run, but if you get me on a basketball court, I'll run all day long. So it gives me a purpose, and that's where I think like shed hunting is great because you're always going over that next knob or going around this next thicket. Where are you going to find this next shed? So I think it gives you that like pie like this target that you're looking for. So even if you're not a hunter and you really don't care about deer and whatnot, they are kind of nice to have around. I don't. My wife even has. They've grown on my wife. She's got them all kind of randomly placed here and showing off some of the bigger sheds that we found over the years. And I would say I was never like an avid shed hunter. I think more or less you got me really going on it because it was something like it's probably just like a turkey season for me. Shed season, that's kind of what I how you view shed season is. You get fired up for it. You can't wait to
Yeah.
go. So
Yeah, shed season for me. I think
how did you get into it?
I started shed hunting maybe 10 years ago, and it was just back around home in Michigan when I was there. But I think part of the reason that I started shed hunting was one, the weather in Michigan when you get into January, February, even into March, it kind of sucks and you're like stuck inside all the time. So I was like, all right, well, I can get outside and I can put 10, 15 miles on a day, just see if I can find some antlers. And it's a better way to get to know your property because you're going into areas that you normally don't go into when you're hunting. During hunting, you're always conscious about like putting pressure on your farm. Where shed season, it doesn't matter. You can just get and go and start walking. You can walk all over the place and really get to know your place a lot better. And also, I mean, shed season, people are a lot more likely to let you walk their farms for antlers than they are to let someone hunt. So I found back home in Michigan, my neighbors would let me shed hunt. So I'd end up, with a just call it a square mile area that I had permission to shed hunt around my family farm. So then you get to know what the other farms around your place look like. And really you can pick up a lot of intel. So it's a very beneficial tool while at the same time you're just getting outside, getting to walk and put the miles on. Whereas now I'm stuck behind a desk 40, 50, 60 hours a week for work. So it gives me a reason to get outside and just walk around. And as my girls get older, this is how I'll introduce them to the outdoors, is just taking them shed hunting, because it's a lot easier to convince your kids to go out and just walk around for an hour or
It's like
whatever
an
than
Easter
it
egg
is to
hunt.
get them to say, "Hey, let's go sit in a blind for 5 hours when it's freezing cold." So
Yeah.
I think it's a good useful tactic to get kids involved in the outdoors as well.
That's what it feels like. It's like a grown man's a hunter's Easter egg hunt.
Yeah, it is
You're out
definitely.
there, you're out there trying to locate and find the hidden sheds. And that is cool. I mean, that's one thing like Madison and I have done shed hunting, bring the dogs out, walk them around. And like even for those guys that hunt public land, I mean, it's what a great way to, and I
Get
know
to
I've done
learn the
this.
pieces.
Yeah, you can not, you're not worried about screwing somebody's hunt up and you're not worried about blowing your area up that you maybe are targeting. And I think that's one of the biggest advantages that, I mean, I've always got out in the spring anyways, just for turkey hunting. But I mean, I mean, what I found like after I started doing shed hunting with you, how much old sign that you see and that you missed the year before.
Well, and it's really easy during those months of February and March because the foliage isn't up or anything. So you're seeing old scrapes, rubs really easily. I mean, rubs stand out from 100 yards, 200 yards away really easily, and you can go look at areas if that's what if you're wanting to see a bunch of sign while you're out there. But I mean, as far as shed hunting goes, I'm bad about looking for sign while I shed hunt because my eyes are just glued to the ground, and I'm like, I'm here to look for sheds, so I'm gonna just walk, and I don't really care about a lot of the sign around me. I just keep walking, looking for those antlers, and sometimes I'll pick my head up and look at the trees a little bit, but most of the time it's just head down and put the miles on.
Well, and I think what the other thing is I don't know how many guys, I know there's all kinds of apps that you can use, Hunt Stand, Base Map, or Base Camp, I think it's called. I think
Base map.
Base Map. We use Onyx, and I have Hunt Stand as well. But what a great way to mark those signs that you see, if you, especially on public land where you're hunting such a vast size or chunk of land that you're just, hey, maybe you can figure something out just in terms of the pattern. You find a rub line, scrape line. And I've seen you do that. I mean,
Yeah,
you occasionally you'll take your eyes away from the shed hunting and trying to locate those just to make sure that we're marking areas that of interest of us.
yeah. I think when it comes to marking areas, if you get into a spot where you're finding big clusters of rubs or you're finding like actual rub lines, or same with scrapes, if you find an area that's tore up with 4 or 5 scrapes and there's a couple rubs around, and you can see really good worn deer trails, that's an area that I'll mark. And in Onyx, I will as well. I'll take like pictures and then you can upload the picture into Onyx so you kind of know what you're looking at if you come back there to hunt. It's a pretty useful tool. But I think as far as using Onyx goes, it's a pretty big advantage for shed hunting when it comes to having the track feature. So we always do this. We turn the track on right as we start, and you just leave it on the entire time you're walking. It just runs in the background, and you can pull it up and you can look at any point and say, okay, I missed this ridge here, or I missed this little pocket, and you can circle back and look at it, and you know the area that you're covering. But it works really well when it's two guys. I know we don't do this a whole lot, but we have in the past, where we'll send our tracks to each other and you can overlay the tracks on top of each other. So you can say, okay, both Mike and I covered everything here, and you might notice a pocket that you missed. Maybe you missed a 15, 20 acre pocket that you just never even thought about, just the way you were following how the terrain lays on the ground, and you just completely missed a spot. So the track feature is really helpful.
Well, and I mean, I think like, yeah, the track, I mean, you bring that up and you look at where we found the three sheds, like on that piece of public that we were on.
Yep.
and it was a small area. I mean, you got in and just kind of got over by a pine tree,
It was a
and all of a sudden,
quarter acre area, maybe.
yeah, and I don't know if we would ever looked. You just kind of snuck over there, and then it forced us to explore a little further. And that's the stuff where the tracks help out, where you know jump into an area and you never know what you're going to find because then I kind of branched off from you and stumbled across the first shed that I found, and then we think it was the match set. There's right
Yep.
along that little pocket there on that side. There were that knob, and then I stumbled across then the right hand side of it.
Right.
So you
Do
just
you got
never know where
any
you're going to find them.
do you got any favorite areas that you like to look for sheds? Or that you found
Well, I mean,
or that you start to find more sheds in consistently the more years that you do this?
you know, it's funny. Yeah, I mean, as you get to know the property, you kind of just go to these areas where maybe they're just always traveling along a fence line, or they've
Hmm.
got this area really of a nice pocket where maybe it's where they bed down at, or they just like the travel corridors. Under trees sometimes. I know I found a five-sider on one of our properties just so you could just see they must have been bedded down underneath this tree and must have just fell off there. But I mean, it seems like, even fields, open fields. I mean, shoot, that's what we found.
Especially
We
if there's
found quite a
food, if there's
few.
any sort of food left in there, it's
Yep.
definitely, I mean, it's
Food
worth taking the
sources.
time. It's worth taking the time to walk all the field edges because
Yes.
you might pick off a few easy ones out there. And don't just walk like literally on the field edge either. Like how many times do we just walk out in the middle of a
Yeah.
field and you may catch an antler way far off, but you look at it through your glass and realize that it's there. But they're not always just right on the edge of the field.
Yeah. It's those CRP fields. I'm always, we were walking through those. I just don't even you wonder how many sheds that we walked right
Right.
past, and
Well,
you're
see,
never going to
in
see them.
CRP fields too. I think we've had good luck walking through there if there's any sort of structure. If you find like
Yeah.
if there's clumps of cedar trees or something out in there.
Some
But
deadfalls that they maybe are laying by.
yeah, something for them to bet up against. But I don't know. I know you know this because we do this every year, but I've been liking around ponds a lot more, and it seems like we're finding a lot of sheds around ponds, especially ponds that have like really grassy areas around them, maybe taller grown up grass and a little bit of structure with trees around there. I think this last trip we found majority of our sheds around ponds.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if maybe that's just because maybe it's a little bit drier during like those winter months if the snow's already melted off and everything, they're going to get water. But we've been seeing a lot of antlers around ponds, and that's something that we not necessarily key in on when we're walking, but we're taking the time to make sure that we at least do a circle around every single pond on properties, even public land, same thing. But I think
Yeah.
I've liked ponds and then waterway. I think waterways are always really good on fields. If you get those grassy waterways that are grown up, you're catching you're catching antlers out there because deer are eating at night in the fields and then they'll go back to the waterways and they'll just lay down for a little bit and then get up and eat. So they're constantly moving. So I know that's one area we found sheds as well in the past quite frequently.
Yeah. Especially this year, it seemed like that was our go-to there for a while because that's the only place we were finding them
Right. And,
outside of
I
that.
you hear people talk about like fence crossings, like check all the fence crossings, and we do. We walk the fences around our properties, or even public land. There's fences out there as well. I don't find a whole bunch of antlers fence crossings. I mean, I found maybe a couple, but they're kind of pretty far and few between. And you'll see huge deer trails crossing fences, but rarely do I find antlers there. A lot of the
You
times
think?
it's either in bedding areas where there's thick thermal cover. Like think of a lot of cedars, a lot of pines. The floors maybe it's like south facing or something where they're getting a lot of sun. Or it's food sources. I mean, travel corridors, yeah, sometimes, but bedding and food, I mean, that's kind of what I think of when it comes to looking for antlers.
Yeah, especially like bucks at that time of year where they're trying to recover from
Well,
just the rigors
and
of going through the rut.
yeah, well, and they're all bachelored up again too. So it's I don't know. You got I think you kind of stack your odds if you're going into like a really good bedding area that's got cover. There's a chance that three or four bucks are laying together in that general area. So maybe a good chance you find one antler if one of them drops there or whatever. So
Yep.
I think it's just something to key in on. And especially if someone's like just starting shed hunting, I think, dude, like if you want to get into it, just to start easy. Hit the field edges. Look for those like buffer zones between the timber and the fields. So you got like your grown up grass areas around the timber before it gets to the fields. Hit those. That's easy walking. You can burn up miles doing that, and then start looking for bedding areas if you can find it. I mean, get into like a little bit thicker areas that got thermal cover, and I think those are really your prime spots. Just if you're starting, hit
Yeah.
those first and go from there. And then you start to learn as you walk more miles.
And you said the south facing hills, which is, I mean, kind of a rule of thumb that they like
Yeah,
to sit there and bask in the sun and get a little bit of warmth. So that's not a bad
it,
tip.
especially on colder years where you get like if it's really cold. I mean, you got to think the south facing slopes, the snow's going to burn off quicker. So that's going to be where they're going to want to lay. Whereas, we've seen it. We've got ridges where you have a south on one side, north on the other. No snow on the south side, snow on the north side, and it's like they're not going to want to lay in the snow when they can lay out there and get some sun when it's real cold. So, I mean, that one's just kind of common sense. But
Well, I mean, it's been good. I mean, this year was a little light for us with
yeah,
sheds, but I'll say this: I talked to Justin, and they were shed hunting, and they asked how many we found because
yeah,
he obviously didn't do that well, and they typically, I mean, they have a lot of acres down there that they hunt, and they didn't find hardly any, and they were down this just a little bit before us, a couple days, and that same weekend, you and I went, and told them we ran into it was hard, it was tough finding
yeah,
sheds this year,
yeah. I think we
didn't
found
find
we
that many.
found what nine, and then a couple dead heads, and I found like a
Yep.
broke off antler as well. But yeah, it was pretty slow compared to most years. But I think I just because you're not finding antlers, don't give up either. It's like just keep walking. Like have fun while you're doing it. Just enjoy being outside. Walk slow, like walk slower. You don't need to be just flying around. That's an easy way to miss antlers. Uh, but yeah, it's
And
don't get discouraged because you're not finding
maybe
antlers.
on day one, not walk 15, 20 miles.
Yeah, well, or just stop for lunch. Yeah, we did our first day in Missouri. We did, but I think it was 16 miles,
Yeah.
and we didn't stop for lunch. We walked all day, and I think by the end of it, we were both dragging pretty bad.
We especially one guy here who had not been doing too much of, I mean, I was been walking and trying to stay active, obviously, but when you're walking on treadmills, you're not prepped for something like that. So really, I mean, yeah, I agree with you. Don't give up because you never know. I mean, look at us when we stumbled across those three, it kind of reinvigorated us, got us going
Right.
again. We hadn't found anything up to then. And then all of a sudden, bam, 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 we hit three in a row. And I
Yeah, it's
think you
funny.
found,
We'll
you found a
we'll
couple
find
more.
pockets like that too, where it's like you won't find anything for miles, and then all of a sudden you'll get into an area and you'll pick up two or three. So, and I think we don't find a whole lot of match sets. We found some, but I think when you find an antler, at least take some time to look around that area within, a couple hundred yards, whatever. Just do some sort of a zigzag or a circle and try to cover it a little bit because there is a chance that the other antler's laying pretty close by. And I think I want to test this theory more, but I think if a deer has bigger antlers, they're going to drop their match side closer than like instead of just holding it for a long time. I think when they drop one, they're going to drop that second one pretty soon because I think, and I don't know if this is true or not, but this is just my theory that
Wait.
it's weight. It's uncomfortable because
Okay.
if you think an antler weighs 5 or 6 pounds, probably 5 pounds, it's like they're
Good size one.
holding one side. They want to drop that thing as fast as possible. So I
Well,
think for if you find a big shed, look around close. You might find the other one. But that's again just my theory. I don't have much data to back that up, other than a couple of the big match sets that I found. But it's like
is
it
this
kind of makes sense in my head.
is this a one deer sample size from last year?
No, we had
No, I'm just giving you a hard time.
well, we had the 10 point that we picked up off of the 133.
Yep.
We had an 8 point that we picked up off the den. So it's like we got a few, but
Yeah,
and then I think even look at the ones that you picked up. You picked up 140-inch 10 point
that was
this
pretty
year.
funny. It was a
Antlers were
good
50 yards
match.
apart, not even 50 yards.
No, they're really close.
So I that's just kind of my theory. I need more time to be able to really
Test
say
it.
for sure that I believe it, but it's a starting point.
Something to track here for the years to come.
Yeah,
Hopefully we can stumble across a few more match sets like that.
yeah, absolutely.
But this year was good. I mean, I had fun. Obviously, we put a lot of miles on. We made it to Missouri, did a couple, walked a new piece of public that we're considering, and then obviously our properties, and then we scooted up to Iowa, which I found that monster shed
Yeah,
up there,
giant
giant shed. We'll probably highlight that in this as we
little
talk through
forecorn.
this. We'll give a little flash of that bone. But yeah, that was I mean that the Iowa, it gets hammered so hard. You got to get out there pretty early to
Yeah,
have any kind of success out there.
I think any sort of public. I mean, any public's going to be like that. So if you're hitting public and you really want to find sheds, I think get after it early. Start even middle of January if you want to get out and start walking, start picking them up as they drop. Whereas if you got private
Yeah.
ground, we both like to wait until about second week of March and then
Mhm.
just go scoop everything up. And that doesn't mean that they've all been dropped. We've had years where we're out there walking and you get a bachelor group of bucks running by and they're all holding, and you're like, well, crap, I guess there's not many out here.
Well, Justin said that he saw like they were kicking deer up as they were walking around, and obviously they were doing some yote hunting there too, I believe, but they were mainly shed hunting and they were booting bucks up, and he said a lot of them had still were holding antlers.
Well, I think
Crazy.
if the winters aren't very harsh, like if you're not getting a really tough winter, then they're gonna hold their antlers longer because they don't need to expend as much energy on their bodies when the winter's harder. Whereas if you get like a really harsh winter, I think you'll start to see them dropping sooner.
Yeah, I that's kind of where I was going with that Iowa stuff is if anybody wanted tips on public land, I really believe you got to get out there and you're probably right. Probably mid-January, end of January,
Yeah.
the very latest you got to get out there in February to start, especially out there where they don't get a ton of snow. I mean, they still get snow obviously, but if you were going to go out of state, try to do these things and try to shed hunt, make sure you're checking the regulations, because some states require licenses or some kind of permit.
Well,
Well, so
I know down here for Tennessee, there's some WMAs down here that you can't take antlers off. They're considered
right,
like a resource for the animals. I think of like
yep.
squirrels, raccoons, whatever they eat them. Porcupine. I don't. We got porcupines down here, I think, but it's like I don't get it. I think it's kind of a dumb rule, but that's just because I like to look for antlers. But yeah, you gotta check the regs and make sure that you understand. There's some states that you got to get what kind of tag is it to pick up the deadheads? You got to get a
Yeah,
tag from the DNR to pick up the deadheads. You got to tell them where you found it, whatever. So
yep.
there's other things that you got to do to make sure that you're following regulations. I
So
think
make sure you're
I
legal.
yeah, but I don't know. There's you just got to make sure that you're following the rules. Last thing you want to do is get hung up because you took an antler where you're not supposed to.
But I mean, the biggest thing is you can, we go out of state to shed, and I shed hunt around here as well. And I never have the great luck like I've had down there. I'd shed hunt in Indiana, and I made sure I checked the regulations. I contacted their DNR and make sure that I didn't need a permit or
Right.
any kind of special rules that go along with that. So always be on top of that when you're going out of state for either shed hunting, deer hunting, or anything like that. Make sure you know the regulations. So that's my one reminder for everybody because I've seen I've seen and heard of some things, people over the past where they go out and they pick up a shed or they're shed hunting and they find it the hard
It
way.
happened to me. I didn't pick up a shed, but I went out when I first moved down here to Tennessee like 7 years ago. I uh I went out to a big WMA here a couple hours west of my house, and I went shed hunting. I didn't really find anything. It was just a quick trip or whatever. I got back to work and I was talking to a friend there, and I'm like, yeah, I went out shed hunting at so and so place, and he goes, man, you can't shed hunt out there, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And he goes, dude, you gotta at that WMA, you can't shed hunt. It's part of it's considered part of the resource for the wildlife management area. And I'm like, really? And he goes, yeah. He goes, it's not really in. He goes, it's not in the rule book really well where you can see it. He goes, but give the DNR a call. So I called the DNR and they're like, yeah, you can't shed hunt there. You'll get a fine for it. And I'm like, good to know. But
Yep.
when you move, like every state is so different with their regulations. It's really hard to keep up on like what you need to do. So I think if you're new to a place, just call the DNR. They're willing to work with you, and
Oh
they'll
yeah.
give you an answer. So
Yeah.
whether you can email them, I prefer to pick up the phone and call them because usually each like at least here down in Tennessee, it's we have zones. We have zones down here. You just call the DNR and they're more than willing to talk to you. So
Yeah, and that was really easy for the Indiana. I just shot them an email. They're very responsive and quick, right back at me. Like, nope, you don't need anything. Just come on down.
yeah,
And even like I should have been down there. I was down there like what, end of February, beginning of March, and it had already been picked over. I
right.
mean, you can see the people out there, all the boot tracks and everything. And I put in what six, I think 15, 16 miles that day too.
Yeah.
So
Well, you
you
get a
put some
lot.
miles in, and it's fun. It's a fun sport to do, and it's something to break up the winter. And then you get that, and then you can move right into turkey season, which maybe we'll get you out there someday.
Yeah, I'm not much of a turkey guy. I'll stick looking for antlers. I like doing that. But I don't know what else on sheds do we think we should cover here? I mean, it's not a very complex thing to do.
No,
You just get out and walk, enjoy the outsides. I think I guess maybe things that we bring shed hunting is a good little topic here because all right, we're back after some technical difficulties there. Apparently the internet in Tennessee is terrible. But yeah, I think where we left off, I was going to talk about uh, some of the gear and stuff that's kind of made my life easier when shed hunting and kind of how I've evolved over the past decade of doing this. But yeah, I think when I first started shed hunting, I was just getting ready to go. Like right, I put my rubber boots on, I just wear blue jeans, and I just get out and walk. I didn't really bring anything with me, and it was fine to start. I mean, it was fun, but there's definitely been a lot of things that have made my life easier as we're going through this. I mean, one one and probably most importantly is boots. And granted, this year I had a little bit of issue with my boots because they're so old and worn out, but I don't wear rubber boots anymore. They're too heavy. Your feet sweat really bad, and you tend to get blisters really bad. So I think get a good pair of like hiking boots, or you wear like hiking shoes or whatever. And yeah, if you can get boots that are waterproof, that's better because you're always going to run into some sort of water when you're out there walking. But I think get a good pair of hiking boots that you're comfortable wearing for long periods of time. That way you feel better when you're walking. You're not having these big clunky rubber boots on. But that's just my opinion for boots. And then pants are huge because you're always going through thick stuff. You always got thorns or whatever. Get a pair of like brush guard pants, something that's got a really durable material that thorns aren't going to poke through. And I mean, I've tried probably like 20 different pairs of pants, and I've got a few that I picked up over the past couple of years that work really well. They're actually like Costco or Sam's Club pants. You can get like thicker, like all weather pants that work really well. And that's been huge. And they don't get torn up too bad. And even if they do, they're like, $20 to replace them. So they're pretty inexpensive. But don't
pretty heavy, pretty heavy
yeah.
material, like
Yeah, I mean,
Carhartt, almost like a Carhartt material.
yep, something very similar. But I would definitely I wouldn't be wearing my camo out there. Like I wouldn't be wearing my hunting pants because they'll get torn up so bad. And then you're just basically wasting money on pants. So go out and get you a good pair of like $20, $30 thick, heavy duty workwear pants. Something that's like like if you can find something that's a little bit of flexible material too, it makes it a little bit more comfortable when you're walking. So and then sweatshirts, shirts, that's kind of your preference. I've got like a heavy North Face sweatshirt that I've worn for years, and I wear it because it's a really thick, heavy duty um, sweatshirt, so it kind of helps me from getting torn up too bad. I've when on the hot days, we wear just t-shirts and you end up just getting wrapped up in thorn bushes and it's kind of a pain. So that's kind of clothing wise. I wear a ball cap or beanie depending on whatever the weather is. I like wearing a ball cap mainly. If you're ducking down, going through something thick, you're not catching thorns to the eyes because that we've all had that happen.
A little face
Um,
guard.
yeah. So,
Yeah,
but then I think probably like the most important thing you can bring is binoculars because if you see something that looks like a shed, it's way easier just to pick up your binoculars, look, see, at least be like, okay, I'm 99% sure that one's a shed. Let me go walk over there. It'll save you some steps as you're going.
it would have
Um,
saved us probably 6 miles this year. It saved us 6 miles this year
yeah,
of misidentified corn stalks slash sheds.
yeah, especially if you're walking through like a cut cornfield or something. That's
Yeah,
just tough in general. But even out in bean fields, you get the bean stubble that's up still. It can be a little bit deceiving. So binoculars help with scanning open fields, and I think just take your time, slow down, scan with your binoculars. Um, and you can get a decent pair of binoculars for not a ton of money. I mean, yeah, they're expensive, but it's well worth it. You're going to use them during hunting season and then shed season as well.
Yep.
So I'd be having that. And then I think kind of back to the foot care. One other thing that I've started doing since I've been cheap and haven't bought a good pair of boots here in the past couple of years, but I bring an extra pair of socks with me or a couple extra pairs of socks when we're out. And then I don't know, I'll stop and just swap out my socks or whatever if we stop for a break. That way I'm not wearing super sweaty socks that are rubbing really bad on my feet. So that's kind of just something that's helped me out over the past couple of years. Do you have anything that you bring that you think is
I
uh
was going to recommend water, some snacks to go along with you, just because that keeps you out in the field a little longer. Um, yeah, this first aid, just bring something along with you. You could get a blister, and you're better to put something on it sooner than later.
right,
We both got blisters this year, and maybe a little bit of Tylenol, like I had to use because my knees
yeah,
were so beat up and hurt, and I hadn't been exercising like that. So yeah, I mean, just I would say that gloves, nice good pair of gloves to be able to grab and you kind of move stuff out of the way. I always have some sort of leather glove with me or
right.
something that's not going to get caught and you're not going to get shredded by the
Power
razor.
bank. If you can bring a
Yep,
power bank as well, just something to keep your phone charged because
keep your
especially
phone
like we
going
talked
so you
earlier,
keep your apps running.
if you're running Onyx or whatever, it eats up battery. So keep your phone charged a little bit at least. It helps.
And really, if you wanted to throw a camera, like a cell or a trail camera in your backpack, if you're on your properties or you're going to start putting them out, deploying some trail cameras in the spring. I know we do that, and it's
Right.
crazy to think, but
Another thing too that I always bring and I'm happy that I do have is like those rubber gear ties.
yeah,
I always keep a couple of those. They're really nice if you got like if your backpack is full or whatever, you can tie off an antler to your backpack. But then I've also used it to fix stuff up. Like I had a a strap break on one of my backpacks and I just used it to tie it basically together.
yep.
So I don't know, just
Other
kind
than
of
that,
things like
it's pretty lightweight, really. When you and I
it
go out,
is.
we bring a ton of stuff. I mean, it's my backpack here and there. I know we swap cameras out and stuff and batteries, but I mean, that's the heaviest stuff, but I don't always have that with me. But those are
Right.
some of the things that yeah. I mean, basically, you and I kind of travel the same way. And, those are good things to give people that if they are looking to shed hunting, or maybe if they've been shed hunting, these are some good ideas that maybe we've come up with. And it's great talking and listening to other hunters and just people in the outdoors to pick up tips of the trade.
I learn stuff all the time. You listen to other podcasts or you watch shows, and guys are always giving out little nuggets of stuff. And I think it's good to listen to them, but also like don't take what guys say for like gospel. Like it's you hear it, put it into practice. Try to see if it matches up with what you're seeing when you actually get boots on the ground. So
Yeah.
it's good to take a bunch of information in, but at least like put it to practice. Make sure like it is actually something that you like either like or believe in or whatever. And don't just think like, oh, this guy knows exactly what he's talking about. I'm going to do it the exact same as him because their situation may not apply for you. And that goes for us too. It's like we're not experts on this stuff. So it's just we're just saying like what we've learned over the past few years doing this. If you get little tidbits out of it, it's great. But
Yep.
put put it into practice, like I said, and go out there, put the miles on, and see how it goes for you.
The
And then
woods. Just get in the woods, right?
yeah,
And it's
yeah, it's this is the one thing. This is the lowest barrier to entry for anything. There's how many millions of acres of public land across all these different states. Go out and walk. It's
yeah,
you don't need to buy a license. Like you don't
you don't need a bunch
you
of
spend a little
gear.
bit of gas money maybe if you're traveling out of state or
Yeah.
going places, but you're not buying a whole ton of gear. Most people have boots, most people have pants, get a backpack, whatever. It's go out and do it. It's not a big financial investment to start shed hunting. And it's something that gets you out of the house during like the worst months of the year, especially in the northern states. Go out, walk around, enjoy your property, enjoy public land. Hell,
Yep.
your tax dollars are paying for it. You might as well use it.
Get out with your kids and have a good time. It's fun.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's I don't know. it's something fun. You never know really until you try it. It's definitely something that I almost like it more than deer hunting at this point.
I
It's
know you get you get fired up about it. I know
Yeah, I
that.
know when we talk about doing these trips and everything, and even my local stuff around here when I look in Tennessee, it's I'm always blowing you up about it. Like, all right, here's our plan. Here's how we're gonna walk. Here's our route. Here's
Here's
everything.
our
This is how many
schedule. You
miles
give
we're gonna
me
cover in a day. I've got everything. I've got everything scheduled out, and you're like, all right, calm down. We're gonna go
what's
walk.
what's our itinerary here? Where are we gonna go? At what point? What day? Yeah, you had it all planned out, and I know it's fun. It is good to get out, and it's exciting to see the properties after. And it is. I get excited about it because it's now the scouting for the upcoming season is you can't put a value on that.
Well,
You
and
really can't.
it's such a good bridge of time too, right? Because we all get fired up during deer season, and then October's so exciting. November's the time of the year that's our Super Bowl. December late season, you're kind of winding down. If you don't got great food on your place, it's tough to hunt. And once season's over, you're like, all right, what am I gonna do for the next 9 months?
Yeah.
And then you start to think like, okay, well, turkey season's like April. I got
No.
3 months, kind of dead time. I can't do any food plot work really. Um, Whereas shed hunting, it's easy enough to sneak out and walk for a couple hours. It's not a big time commitment. Do it on your schedule. Wait for good weather days to go do it. So it's really good. You want to hit on the weather days real quick before we wrap this up?
Hit on what? What do you?
Weather days for shed hunting. Like what kind of weather?
Oh, geez, yeah. I mean,
I
it's
don't. We skipped over
you
that.
love. I know, like you love the rainy, overcast. Maybe not pouring down rain, but a little bit of you got a little moisture in the air.
Yeah,
Those sheds glisten a little better. You can see them, and I do. And I always joke around that I like the sunny days, but it's just be funny. But you can see them much better when it's cloud cover. I don't know if I would. I'm older, so I don't necessarily want the rainy days because it's so soaking wet. And we have done well. Shoot, I mean, it was snowing this year for us.
yeah.
I mean, it's considerable snow. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to walk around and driving rainstorms or anything like that. But I mean, if it's a little wet out, I don't mind it. And it's, you want cooler weather. I mean, obviously we got into 80-degree days and that was way too hot. I mean, I was exhausted, so I mean, it just takes it out of you. So I look at it like this, that if I can get, this is my preference, upper 40s, low 50s during the day, like for highs, I think that's perfect. I know you like a little colder,
Yeah, I'm a little colder. I
even
like it
from
if you can get those
Tennessee.
upper 30s, lower 40s. That's just good walking weather for me
Oh
personally.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I
And
think
that first day was good.
yeah, but I think if you get days like if you can actually like prioritize days to go, my preference would be cloudy, like no sun at all. Um, it seems to make the antlers pop a lot more in my opinion. And then if you can get whether it rained like right before you went, or even if it's just like you said, like a misty kind of light rain, for whatever reason it seems to make antlers stand out more, at least from my experience. But the worst days, in my opinion, is if it's hot, just because it's uncomfortable to walk, and then you get all like the ticks and snakes and everything else are out, and it's kind of a pain.
Chiggers.
Um, and chiggers, yeah. But and then if it's really sunny too, like if you got like full sun, like bluebird skies, full
It
sun, it is hard. It is
is
hard to
tough.
find antlers because if that sun is in your face or off to the sides, if it's not at your back, the shadows really mess with you when you're walking. So it's really
Shadows in the
difficult.
sun, man, and just beating in your face. I mean, it's try to look and see and reflect. I
Well,
know you walked up on that one shed that I found, and you were walking into the sun,
yep,
and you almost stepped on it.
yeah.
I mean,
And that we've
that's tough.
we've seen that, I mean, countless times where if it's full sun, if that sun's in your face or off to the sides, it's really hard to see because the shadows, they really play with you. And especially if you're walking in timber where you're walking in a lot of trees, all the branches, the leaves, the trees themselves, the brush, everything, it puts off all these shadows, and it's really hard to see antlers. But if
Yep.
you're if you have to walk on a sunny day, my only tip is just walk with your back to the sun as much as possible, because that sun will beat down on the antler and it'll kind of give like a reflection. So that's kind of my best advice for walking on sunny days, and I'll stand by that because I know that one just years of doing this. But
Years of doing it, and you've heard, other people say the same thing too.
yeah, yeah. So
So
I
yeah,
think if you got the option to pick your days to go out and walk, pick a cooler day, and then if it's cloudy, that's the best thing possible in my opinion.
but yeah, I almost forgot about that too. The
Yeah, I think that's a
preferred
pretty
weather.
important one.
Yeah,
That's
preferred
a pretty
element.
important one.
Yeah, for sure. Good
So
thing you remembered.
yeah, I
Well,
think
as we
that's
wrap it up here, I mean, I think we can wrap this thing on and put her to
yeah,
bed.
I think it's a pretty good start for,
Yeah,
just telling people like kind of about shed
give it
hunting,
tips.
at least the basics of it. I mean, look, it's not complicated. Hell, I
No,
mean, anyone can go out and do it. Just go enjoy the outdoors during the crappy months of the year. Look for antlers, and I guess my best advice is don't get discouraged. Like you may put on 5 miles and not find an antler, but maybe by mile 6 you find one or you find two.
patience,
So
patience, and persistence.
don't get discouraged. Just keep moving. You don't need to walk a million miles an hour. Slow down, take your time, look at the ground, and then just enjoy it while you're
Enjoy.
out there because it's
Serene.
not very difficult. So go out there and
No,
do it.
nice to get outside, get some exercise, get away from the electronics, get the kids with you, and create a little bit of competition, a little bit of, like I said, like an Easter egg hunt. Like let's go
Yep.
find some eggs. And then, it's great to have them around. And like I said, I got them sitting all around my house as decor. So it's kind of nice to have them. I think they look nice, and you got a couple that sitting behind you right now. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
it's cool as just one, I guess, last thing is it's cool if you find antlers off of deer that you're hunting too for like the next years. I mean, you build up some sort of a history with the deer where it's like, oh, cool, this buck made it through. Like I'll be looking for him come the
and
summer
what's
when we're getting trail cameras out and everything. So
and what's
it's
our
just
rule?
well, our rule. Well, let's go through a couple of rules here. This is
Yeah.
this is interesting now that you bring this up. Let's start with the first rule of when we're actually shed hunting. If if Mike and I, if we're walking together, if I pick up an antler first, or if he picks up an antler first, and then the other person finds the match side, whoever found the match side gives it to the person who picks up the first antler. We've always just followed by that rule. It's just kind of a courtesy thing. It's like keep the antlers together. Granted, I don't know that we've ever actually had to put that into place, but it's
It's
like
never been enforced.
no, it's just a rule that we have, and it's like
Yep.
just kind of a courtesy thing. Like keep the antlers together, and then uh, if you kill a deer off that you have sheds off of, whoever kills the deer gets the antlers. So it's
Yep.
like if Mike shoots a deer that I picked up an antler off of, no matter if it's 1, 2, or 3 years, sheds a sets, he gets all the antlers. The antlers stay with the deer if it gets killed. So I think it's kind of a cool rule, but
Yep.
it's
Couple
just
of
something
different rules
nice.
enforced.
Yeah. So
So
it's just something to keep the antlers
keep
with the
a
deer.
little friendly banter and just,
Yeah.
and also just it's fun. Like it'd be awesome to have like find sheds and then just have it like here. I know you found a couple different sheds where here's their 1 year shed and then well like that big set you found
Big
last
big
year.
set behind me. I got 2 years off of him.
Yep. So that would have been really awesome to have something like that to just kind of put on display. And
Right.
yeah, you get a history with bucks. It's fun. It's that's what makes it. I think that's what makes it enjoyable for us is like we're watching them grow as they mature and they get up in age. And if we can find their antlers, that's even better. It's an added bonus. And then even added bonus, you get the harvest one and then you can display those along with it.
Yeah.
So kind of a cool one. We're the only
Yeah.
ones who really shed hunt. So we're going to be the ones that would probably give up the sheds if
Yeah. We're
anything.
yeah, we're the only ones in our group that really shed hunt. But I think it's shed hunting is just another good example too of like camaraderie. It's fun just to
Yeah.
have, your buddies that you do it with. It's fun when I go by myself, but it's not the same because I don't get to joke and BS around the entire time we're out there. You're not really like sharing the experience with someone. So I think if you're gonna shed hunt, even if you're new to it, get one of your buddies to go out there, or your wife, or kids, or whoever, and just go have some fun. It's something to do during the off season. It's not very complicated, so have fun doing it. Make some good memories with your friends and family. I think that's kind of
Get in the
how I
outdoors.
look at it.
Saying like I too many people sit around too much and we gotta get outside and get moving. That's the only way you stay healthy,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
especially with me.
So
All right. Well, let me wrap her up there, and then again, Catch Mike Sports. Uh, Catch us on there. I know we've got one article, and they've been sharing our links and our bio and anything in there that has to do with outdoors. So we appreciate them partnering, having a little bit of confidence in us.
yeah,
So
it'll be fun to see where it goes. I mean,
yeah,
we'll
we're
do these
not.
one we'll do these once a month to start. Topics will just vary, like we said earlier, by time of the year, and we'll try to put out some relative content. And we both got jobs, we both got families, so it may not be like immediately that we're getting these things uploaded, but we'll put them out there, and then I'm sure as we're together, like on hunting trips or whatever work trips throughout the year, we'll record these podcasts in person and not just over Zoom. So
Yeah,
um, it'll be good. We'll see. We'll
cool.
see. We'll do
It's
one
fun.
one
I
piece
was
of
like,
content a month
we always
to
like
start.
talking hunting and outdoors, and I mean, might as well share some of our conversations and thoughts and tips and tricks and whatever we experience. And like I've always said, I've listened and you've listened to podcasts, and we've listened to some of these guys that do this on a much bigger platform than us, and we have the same conversations and the same thoughts and the same tips, and might as well have a little bit of fun with it.
Yeah, and I think for anyone that watches this and makes it all the way through or listens to it or whatever, drop some sort of a comment or send us a message on like tips that you have because we're always looking to learn.
Yeah,
And I know it doesn't seem like maybe there's like a lot to learn about shed hunting, but guys give out little nuggets of information every once in a while that you're like, oh, that's a really good idea, or that's something cool to bring with you. So if you got something that has worked really well for you in the past or something that you always do during shed season, like let us know.
sure.
We genuinely want to hear what you have to say because we're looking to learn like everyone else. So uh, if you got some secrets that you want to disclose, let us know. We're always looking to find more antlers.
Definitely. All right. Well, let's wrap her up there, and we'll move on to our next topic here in next month.
Yeah,
It could be turkey hunting, could be some out west trips that we're taking. So tips on those, fly fishing. I'm just getting a text from my buddy Chris. He's wondering when we're gonna get out fly fishing here. So I'm looking forward to that around here and out west.
good deal.
Awesome.
All right,
All right, man.
sounds good. Good catching up, buddy.
All right, man. Take care, Snankers.
All right, bye.